You look beautiful, Joanna. All in white, and your skin is perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Really, I'm just hot and sweaty. All right. All right, everyone, if you're just coming into our Zoom room, I'm Joanna Roach with GSN Planet. I'm here today with Michael Tompkins of Hutchinson Consulting. Hi, Michael. Thank you
Hi,
for
everybody.
joining us. We are going to talk a little bit today about the new GSN job board and, strategies for getting a job during this tough time and sort of tips and tricks that Michael is going to share with us. So if you haven't joined GSN yet as a member, please sign up. You can see the link on our slide. And thank you for coming today. Really appreciate your support and encouragement. All right, Michael. So tell us what is happening in the world of executive recruiting.
Well,
Start there.
like everybody is aware of, I think in March it all took that whole spiral down. And what I loved about our industry is that we're such a great family that everybody really wanted to, do all of the Zooms and the webinars. And, I was probably in April and May, early May, doing as many as, I don't know, 10 to 15 webinars a week. I did a couple with you, Joanna, which I really loved. And, I also watched some of the iSpa ones, which I thought were great. But what I loved is that people started to look at how we could help each other out. And, then you had players in the industry who got together as teams and created, the COVID protocols and the reopening and the pre-opening and all of those things that have been so helpful to each other. Hutchinson did a series called Coffee with the Coaches, and we had never anticipated that we would have, over 350 people a week watching that. And we had to, up our Zoom thing. And, I loved that, and I continue to love that all of the different players, GSN included, have been so helpful to all of us who are experiencing the new normal. And so the new normal, I don't think, is yet normal. One of the things that we looked at and we recommended for people was, and I'll get back to your original question, was, really making sure that you were ready to come back into the industry with a solid resume, as well as a great online profile, LinkedIn profile, all the pieces that you had some interview coaching skills if you needed it, all of the pieces that are going to make you marketable in a very competitive world. And so, that I think was key in the beginning. And I'll talk about, we can talk together about some of the things that I have learned that I think people will really want to know and find beneficial. But where we're at currently is this. So what I'm seeing is many of the hotels are coming back. We are seeing a scattered mix of some on the West Coast are opening in a couple weeks. Some have already been open since June or July, and gone up and down based on what the state said they could do and what parameters they could open on. In the Midwest, it's pretty much been the same thing, and I think in the Northeast, the same thing. And there's been issues with COVID of do we close, as COVID goes up and down, and is there going to be a second wave? People have been sort of curious, but I have traveled, and I can tell you that the places that I went to, shockingly, were really busy. And that's what we're hearing, is that people are bouncing back. And so I think that once all of this is lifted, there's going to be huge demand to get out and go on vacations and travel. And so I'm hopeful for the future. What we've seen is that many resorts have decided to renovate or improve areas of their property that they weren't able to do because it had been so busy. So maintenance facilities, people in particular, consultants, contractors in the construction area, and also technology, very strong. So people are looking at this of how can we be more tech savvy from a hotel perspective, knowing that this could be the first of, who knows how many instances where, we have to wear masks, and who knows if it's just going to be COVID. And so one of the, with everybody moving to working from home temporarily, and some now permanently, there has been a big need for us to look in technology in a different way. And I know that human resource directors who are now coming back to work are now trying to put together online onboarding. So when you hire somebody, all of the pre-work can be done like we're doing on Zoom right now, and then they're ready to roll once the doors are open, or once the properties are starting to ramp up. So we're in a state of flux, but I think it's a really positive momentum, and I'm excited about it because we have listings and we see listings coming.
Okay. And what about in terms of the relationship between sort of executive level managerial type jobs and sort of more practitioner therapist type jobs? What is the relationship between the two of them, and how can people who are in maybe the second category, how do they start to re-engage in the workforce?
The executives, many of them have come back, or a small amount of the leadership team was kept on each of the properties that we've seen, or some are a little bit more extended. And when I say a small amount, I'm talking anywhere from 20 to 45 employees. And then now that there's partial openings or extended openings, they're expanding back into more people coming back to work. What we're seeing, though, is a shortage of both servers and therapists, because the therapists, and I think there's two reasons for this. One is the therapists don't necessarily want to come back. Some of them are skeptical about the touch, even though we've done everything we can to make it safe. And I can tell you, I've had a haircut, and I've had 2 massages, and I've had a facial post-COVID. And so I can tell you the experiences that I had in the spa industry have been absolutely outstanding. I felt extremely safe. I felt like I was so proud of our licensed staff. But I'm sure having to turn a room every hour and a half and be exposed to people is intimidating to some of those staff. And we have to remember that they're not always the practical thinkers. They're more of the artsy creative. And so they're a little bit more cautionary. And so it's going to take management to have this hands-on skill set to be able to provide a safe environment for them. And what I'm seeing is that our management teams are doing that, and that excites me.
Okay, that's really great feedback. We've got a question coming in from Las Vegas, wanting to know about whether or how you see wages being impacted. Like, do you see this in terms of service provider commissions, or what are salaries like in terms of recruiting executive managers? What's happening?
Well, there's 2 different.
Yeah.
Let me take managers first. So, when it first started to happen, we heard a lot of grumbling of, people took a 20 to 30% pay cut, and to be able to keep their job if they were able to stay at their job. And I think in some locations that's actually still happening. In terms of recruiting, we had a very short stint of people advertising positions that were 20 to 30% below market, but that is not the case currently. The listings that we're getting, I think that they are in a reasonable salary range for where they should be. And so, I'm not seeing the 20 and 30% and people needing jobs and all of that sort of thing, that they're willing to go to a lower price. And these resorts need people, working at them. when it comes to the therapists, my hope was that we were going to see positions become more full-time and less of a hourly stipend, which is small, plus a commission. Unfortunately, because we're still in this up-down business state, that has not happened yet. But what we are seeing is that some therapists are coming back part-time and some are coming back full-time, and the rates seem to be holding steady. So, we haven't seen any pay cuts for therapists at all, which I think was a big worry, because I think they were anticipating the same cuts that the management was going to get. However, they have had hours cut. And so instead of maybe being a 40-hour-a-week employee or a 36-hour-a-week employee, they're only needed 10 hours a week now. And so they haven't come back in the full scale because business hasn't come back in the full scale yet.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me. And what about things that, well, let's start with the therapist side first. So what are some sort of suggestions you would have for therapists or practitioners who may want to, look for a job during this time, right? Because they might not like where things, or maybe their business has been super affected and they want to go to another location that might not be. Like, what are some ways for them to network and maybe connect to opportunities?
Well, there's a few different ways, and that's a really good question, because we all know, and everyone on this call knows, that before COVID, there was a huge shortage of therapists.
Yes.
That has not changed. That is fact. And so the opportunities for therapists, estheticians, the licensed staff in spa, the demand is still really there. And so, if you were in a position that happened to have been furloughed or eliminated, I say, what is your make up a list of the 5 to 10 places you've always wanted to work at, especially if you didn't want to relocate. If you can relocate, what are the places that you've always wanted to work at in your career? And that doesn't necessarily mean resort, although I always hope that it does mean resort, day spa, resort spa, hotel spa, because, now is an opportunity where people are going to need massage therapists in a big demand again, like we had just gone through, and they already do. And, with everyone going into the home space, well, that doesn't mean that the salaries or the wages of the massage therapists and the estheticians weren't needed. They still need to make money. Unemployment only pays so much. And I know that's even in flux now. And so a lot of them, I think, who have decided to go back to work have done the home, opportunities where you can be booked online, etc. But I think that they should step back and say, do I want to teach? Do I want to, consult? Do I want to do both home stuff and resort stuff? Or do I want to make this move and go from X, Y, or Z to a 5-star luxury resort that has a great name, that's going to, as this returns, give me really awesome training using the best products for my body, because, therapists are in that product all the time. So, to be able to work at a place that has quality products is huge, and a good name, because that helps to build your resume no matter what. And, I was a massage therapist at, in the Berkshires for probably 2 years, I think, and I worked at Crepallo for a very short period of time. But I was fortunate enough to work for you at Canyon Ranch, and with you, and having Canyon Ranch and Miraval on my resume, even to this day, and I have been, I don't know, 15 years since Canyon Ranch, and maybe 5 or 6 years since Miraval. Those two names open doors, and they get our consulting firm, consulting projects, etc. And so I say, take a step back, do an umbrella view, make a list of the 5 or 10 places you've always wanted to work, and then contact the human resource department directly.
Mm-hmm. So you're really suggesting is that folks can really take this time to reinvent themselves, right? And come up with a fresh approach to their career.
Yes, and I'm an example of that on a personal level. You know, we have lived in an inner city for now 7, almost 8 years, and we've always wanted to live in a wellness community, and we always wanted it to be green and healthy and beautiful and about wildlife and nature. And you know, behind me is a beautiful lake in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains, you know, on 8,000 acres, and we finally said, if if we've always wanted to do it, if we can do it now, let's do it during this time. Well, the same is for our careers. And so, you know, I definitely think that it's time to step back and reevaluate. You know, I have seen people actually leave our industry, leave hotels, but I also have seen people wanting to come into our industry. I can't tell you how many resumes we've gotten recently where people said, you know, I've been working here, I don't really like it, and I'm just going to use retail as an example. You know, retail is really suffering now. I'm not sure I want to go back to retail. I'm abused by the customers that come in there. I really like the environment of a hotel or a resort, and I'd like to know what's the best way of transitioning in. We're also finding that in technology. So in tech, we're getting a lot of, unexpectedly, getting a lot of resumes for tech positions. And so the one place that we're not is real estate. Real estate still is hot. So anybody who's been in real estate development is staying in real estate development. So, you know, we've had to cherry pick our way through directors of finance and things like that. So, you know, there is good news out there, and you know, for the first time in about 5, 6 months, we're seeing, you know, a really good pattern coming.
Good. And what about for those folks who are more in, you know, management or in executive roles? What are some tips for them? Because we do know that in several of our colleagues have gone through some downsizing, some of the larger hotel corporations, and those, unfortunately, sometimes the wellness and spa jobs are the first ones to go because they're not necessarily the ones that are paying the rent or the mortgage.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that that I can think of for that. The first is many of the people who are in spa and wellness have been in positions for 5, 10, 15 years or longer. And, you know, to be more marketable, you really have to be a little bit more tech savvy. And so, you know, one of the episodes that we did on Coffee with the Coaches was on resumes. And, you know, I'm a 53-year-old guy, and I can tell you, I try to keep up with everything there is around technology out there. And I didn't know this. So here's 2 tips that I think are really important for somebody looking for a job. The first is, if you upload your resume to any employer, Monster, LinkedIn, Indeed, positions at hotels directly, they have a digital system that reads your resume. And one of the things that you know, Joanna, from our generation, was that you never sent anything in Word. You always copied it and saved it into PDF. And so people who have been in the industry for, you know, anywhere from 5 to 30 years are sending their resumes in PDF, and those systems can't read a picture. Okay? So you should only upload any resume or send any resume in Word or in a Word document. Okay? So Word.doc, because that way the computer system that you're submitting it to can read it. Because those computer systems look for keywords. And so if you've applied for a job online and you get a denial letter within 24 hours, that means nobody saw your resume. No one. Because you didn't match the keywords. So your resume didn't have keywords in it. It might not have had keywords in it because you sent it in PDF and not .doc. However, what we're recommending to people is the ideal job you want. You find the ideal job you want, and you print out the job description, because all of those ads online have a job description, that most of them, that go with the job that you're applying for. and then go online and find 5 more job descriptions with the same title and highlight keywords that appear on all 5 of the all 5 of the job descriptions. And those are the keywords. And so you want to make sure that those keywords are in the body of the text in your resume, because that then will have the computer systems pull you to the top of the list. And the more keywords that you have in your resume, the higher you will be pulled on the list. So, let's say an HRD takes out an ad for a director of spa and wellness, and if you submit a PDF, you're getting a denial. Unless they're not using a digital system, and unless you haven't applied through Indeed or LinkedIn or any of those, or H Careers or whatever it might be. So if you do submit it in DOC and it goes through because you have a lot of keywords, you're going to be, let's say 50 of them go through. If you have 3 keywords and I have 5 keywords, you're going to be like number 49. I'm going to be like number 32. And somebody who has 10 keywords is going to be number 3, 4, or 5. And so, you want to make sure that you have as many keywords as possible. And just because the job description has those keywords, you don't want to take the job description and put all those words into your resume, because they use keywords from other wanted ads to increase your score. That's how the algorithms work for like a Google or an H Careers. And so doing those 2 things will get you in the door before most things.
Okay.
The second is networking. I have done everything that I've been asked to do, from facials with Live Love Spa to webinars with you to sponsoring things and doing the job board, which I'm really excited to talk about a little bit here coming soon, to iSpa. Whatever I have been asked to do, I've done it, because the number one way to get a job is personal connection. It's always going to be. And so I always say, it's great if you can get a hold of the HRD or whoever is the person who has put the ad up, but it's much better if you can get through to their personal phone line and somebody who can recommend you, who knows you, or maybe you know them. It's always better to say, hi, my name is Michael. I know that you have this job opening, and I worked for 7 years with Joanna Roach, and Joanna told me about this job, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd call her, and I'm going to send you my resume, and what's the best way to do that? Anytime that you can mention someone else, you're much more apt to get a job, because they're going to pick up the phone with the person they trust, and they're going to call them and say, hey, Joanna, what do you think of Michael? And so that's the best way of getting a job. Absolutely. Especially for management.
Right. Tell me about cover letters, because I'm wondering about these. And because that used to be like such an important part of you introducing yourself, and I'm wondering if that's the case anymore.
It absolutely is the case. And so what we recommend is that you have about 2 pages to 2.5 pages on your resume. Anything over 3 pages, you're going to get discarded. And, it's just the way it goes. And 1 page might be a little tight, depends on how short your career is. If you've only been in the industry for, 5 years, I get it. But if you've been in the career industry for 10 years, you should have at least 1.5 pages on your resume. What our resume writers recommend is, yes, you do a cover letter. So you put in obviously you have the standard things that would be, your name, your email address, your telephone number, all of your contact information. You shouldn't necessarily put your personal address anymore, by the way. And then all of your job experiences, and then, any educational or volunteer things that you've done after that. But that doesn't necessarily highlight all the skills that you might have. And so if you get pulled in and into a system, or you're sending into someone directly, using a cover letter to highlight different information that's contained in your resume that you can expand upon. So I really wanted to talk about this, but I probably shouldn't have 2 paragraphs on my resume about it. You can add that in a cover letter. So we are saying, yes, do a cover letter.
Okay. Okay. And in the cover letter, is that also the place where you can sort of talk about, well, I knew Michael Tompkins and he introduced me to this job, or is that the place where you do that? Because you're not always going to get to talk to somebody in person.
Absolutely. But I'm going to just go back to, sort of like the first, second, and third grade of resumes. And that is, if you're writing a cover letter and I'm saying that, Joanna Roche introduced me, I'm hoping to God that that I have first called Joanna to make sure that it's okay, because you would be shocked at the number of people who put references down and they haven't called the person, and that never really plays out very well. And so it seems simple, but we still have people doing it every day.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about our endeavor that we have developed together, which is our new job board on the GSN website, which it took a long time to come to fruition. So we really appreciate your patience, but it's here and we're really doing it. And we have like an advertiser and people are going to the page. And so we're really wanting folks who are involved with GSN to, oh, great, there it is. Megan's going to little show and tell. So we're really wanting folks who are looking for jobs in the wellness, spa, hospitality business to come to the page and send us their, to look at your opportunities and also to send in their resume so that, we can start to help them find jobs.
That's exactly the way it goes. Where it says submit job right there, that's the most important thing, because you can apply for the individual jobs that we have listed there that are current. However, we have jobs that some employers say, we need this totally confidential and we want no ads anywhere. And so that submit job will give you the opportunity to submit your resume directly to us through GreenSpa Network. One of the things that we like about our partnership, Joanna, is that it's twofold. It's a twofold strategy for both GreenSpa Network and Hutchinson Consulting. We want to be able to reach the ever expanding opportunities in the job market in the green industry, where people are most definitely, looking to work at a place that's sustainable, or have or sells sustainable products, or whatever it might be. And at the same time, we're also getting them in a Hutchinson database, so that our our recruiters can access that information. And so why is that important? Well, when you submit your job, and as we scroll down on this, I want to just talk a little bit about this. But once you submit your resume there, you go into our database, and one of the professionals from Hutchinson will call you, and we will say, we'll ask a certain amount of things, and you can actually save time if you scroll down there one more time, right there where it says, scroll up, go the other way, where it says skills and requirements. If you give us these three things, it's hugely important. So in addition to your resume, the first is any job titles that you qualify for that you're interested in. You can't really, if you don't qualify for a job, we can't have you in the data. It's worthless to have you in the database, because if nobody's, if you say, I'm a spa director, but I want to apply for a director of finance position, it just doesn't make any sense. So any job titles that you qualify for that you're interested in, and give us every one that there is that you can think about. So director of hotel, vice president of hotels, boutique hotel manager, boutique hotel director, everyone that might be out there, because when we build that in our database, we go out after all of the job titles to help you find a job. And when our recruiters look in our database, it pulls you up based on those job titles that we have you on in our database. And so that's number one. Number two, any relocation restrictions. And so I always say, only in Big Canoe, Georgia, anywhere in the South, anywhere on the East Coast, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Be as specific as possible. Let us know where you can move to or where you want to move to, or if you need to stay exactly where you're at, including I would like to work from home. And then finally, your minimum acceptable salary. And the important thing about this, there's two important things about this. The first is you do not want to give your current salary. In some states, that's even illegal to ask. I believe like 23 states now. So that's why you should only ever be asked, what's your minimum acceptable salary? And so put your minimum acceptable salary in. But let's say your minimum acceptable salary was $100,000. I always tell people, reduce it by 10%. Because if your minimum is 100,000, if I get a job listing for $99,000, our database isn't going to pull you up because the threshold is $100,000 or more. And lots of times, people who put in that they know that their 100,000 is their minimum acceptable, but they put in 90,000 because they've reduced it by 10%. It gives them more opportunity in that 10% to apply for new jobs. And during the interview process, that somebody knows the position is paying 90, but oftentimes a client will love them so much that they'll pay them 105 or 110. So you want as many choices as possible. So if you can include those things on the skill sets and requirements, it's going to speed up the process of us getting you in our database that much quicker. And so essentially that I think is what you would need to know if you're applying to get into our database, the GreenSpot Network Job Board and Hutchinson. If you're looking for a position and you just want to apply for the one, you click directly on the position that we have listed, and those are all of our current active listings now. And you click on it and it will take you to the job. It will say where the location is. It will give you the recruiter's first and last name. So now you don't necessarily have to call Hutchinson Consulting. You don't have to send our database an email. You don't have to call GreenSpot Network. You don't have to worry about an administrator. You can just contact Jean Kolb, and she will tell you exactly what it is about that job. And you can see all the qualifications for this, and you submit and apply directly like you would any other job. Again, our system will take anything. It'll take a PDF, it'll take a Word file, but if we're forwarding that onto a database of a client, you should really have it in .doc for us. The other thing is that once you're in our database and you're there for, let's say, 4 or 5 years or 3 years, and then you decide to move on for a job or you're looking for a new one, all we have to do is pull up that file and we can send you your resume and we can say, update it with what you've done in the last 3 years and get it back to us. Because a lot of people even save their resumes in PDF and then they have to redo the whole thing over again. And why make it hard on yourself?
Right. And so when someone does all of this, right, what can they expect, right? Is somebody from Hutchinson going to call them? Can you run us through what's going to happen?
Sure. So first of all, it gets pre-screened by our administrators. And so Jennifer, who has worked for our company for a very long time, will forward it on to one of the partners to make sure that the position is, the person applying really qualifies for the position. If you don't, we will contact you back and say, sorry, we don't think this job is for you, and we want you in our database. Or sometimes we call them and we recommend you might want to get 2 more years as a front desk manager or a night shift auditor or another year as a night shift auditor. Or you may want to move from, let's say, a Hilton Garden Inn to a more 4-star property or a boutique property to enhance your skill set so that we can represent you appropriately to our clients. And so that's what would happen if we declined you. If we accepted you, you would get a call from one of us. And we would call you and say, and ask the questions that I just asked that everybody submit. Because very few people submit that, and so it does take extra work on our side to do that. But we're willing to do that because we want as many qualified candidates in our database as possible. And so you'll get a call, and then there's about 2 days of lag time from the time we get all of your information complete till the time you get uploaded in the system. Now, pre-COVID, we were looking at probably 3 to 6 weeks before we were calling people with a placement usually within 3 months. And if it wasn't placed by Hutchinson, people were finding their own jobs in quicker time frame than that. This has been a very interesting cycle that we're going through with the ups and downs, because employers have taken longer to make job offers, or they've even taken longer to interview. And there's several reasons for that. One is they don't know whether they're opening up or closing tomorrow, or after they've opened, whether they're going to have to close again. And so they're constantly in that mid-state of what am I going to do, which is why I really like seeing, iSpa, Green Spa Network, Florida Spa Association, all of, Live Love Spa, all of the educational things that are out there, because they're great for the spa industry, but they're also great for wellness and hotel and even industries beyond ours, beauty. And so getting a hold and having that so they can make plans. But what it's done is it's slowed the hiring process. The other thing is that what we're seeing, and I'll give you an example. We had a Midwest 5-star hotel call us and say that they took out an ad for a position, and in 2 days got 2,300 people who applied.
Whoa.
2,300. Now, this was not this week. It was probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago. But then, the HRD and the GM call us, and they're like, we have no time to scan through 2,300 to see who's the best. Could you guys just narrow this down for us, and we'll give you your 2,300? And I was like, no, don't give me your 2,300. Let us go out and find it. Let us take our ads out, and then, we'll submit people to you. If you want us to pull from your 2,300, we certainly will. But it's a little bit overwhelming and daunting. And so, that's the market right now. I would say, though, that, when in March, and I know the dates, Joanna, this is how ingrained it is in each of us that I would know this, that on March 9th, we had over 50 listings, and way more than 50 listings. And on March 11th, I had three. So that tells you, though, how it hit. We did a little bounce back where we had, one here and there, but maybe not anything great. But now we have, I don't know what's on that job board now, probably 12, 15 is on our job board here at Green Spa Network. And, what we're seeing is, like for example, we're also having retail companies call us. So I'll give you an example. Hutchinson just placed a national sales director for a handbag company. Because if you can sell in the product world, right?
Right.
You can sell, and you're a woman, you can certainly sell a handbag. And if you have contacts in retail stores and you have contacts in spas and hotels and, all of that sort of thing, all you have to do is be able to sell it. So we have successfully moved people from our industry into other industries. We've also moved people from other industries into the spa and hospitality world. So, don't be dismayed. It's still going to take some time. I think we're probably looking at late fall before we're really back, and maybe even beginning of next year before, we're clamoring. But I can tell you, living in a community that is a weekend destination for Atlanta, people are coming here, and people are going to hotels, and it's going to come back, and we just have to have faith and do what we tell everybody else, and that's breathe.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, that I also live in a resort area, and it is very busy, right? There is not a shortage of people who are visiting.
Right.
So I agree with that. I mean, I think that the industries that are being challenged in particular is retail and, bricks and mortar retail, and also the restaurant business. I think those are much more challenging things to recover from than what we're doing, because all of the literature that's out there, reading material available to us, is really saying that, wellness is now more than ever a true luxury.
Yeah,
Right?
and let's not forget, Joanna, you live in what I would say is a remote island, even though it's not so remote, but it's remote. That has to be your destination before you're going there. It's the
Yep.
same here in Big Canoe, Georgia. It is the same in so many different locations, and we can use the Berkshires as an example.
Yep.
People from New York are flocking to the Berkshires. They're
The
flocking to the
market is
Hudson Valley.
really hot. Yes.
Real estate prices are up 35 to 40%, right?
Yep.
So what are they doing? They're moving out to the areas where resorts are and destinations are. The places that are struggling, quite honestly, are the bigger cities, the inner cities. They haven't come back yet. There's still not the traffic that there was. And I can tell you just from living in St. Louis, because I'm still in two places now because we haven't moved here 100%, is that St. Louis is less busy than Big Canoe, Georgia, because people are flocking out of Atlanta to get to nature, to be away from other people and be with their families and really enjoy that. I'm going to pull away for a bit, but it will return to the cities. It will. It's just taking a little longer. So if you're looking for a job in the city, in an inner city like LA and Atlanta and New York and Chicago, right now, it's probably going to be a little bit more tough than if you're looking in a rural location.
Got it. Got it. So are there any sorts of things that you would advise? What are some like don't do's, right?
Uh,
What should you not do?
what you should not do is badger. Okay, so that's, as a recruiter, that's my job. And so we've had, and we've had several candidates in queue for uh, a job at a location of one of our clients, and the candidates are calling me every week. You said they were going to call me this week. They didn't call. Are they calling next week? And then I would call the client and say, hey, our candidates are waiting. Are you going to be calling for an interview? Whatever. Could you call me? Could you send me an email? Whatever. So one of my clients went 3 weeks. And so I called, and the GM on a Sunday answered the phone. And he said to me, Michael, I have stripped hotel beds. I have cleaned off and tapes. I have been here from 7 in the morning till 12 at night. I have had to deal with employees who think they have COVID, guests who think they have COVID, rules for the state. Are we opening or are we not opening? And I have to be honest with you, the last thing I can even think of, even though I need it the most, is interviewing your candidates. And so I know that they're out there. You don't have to call me 18 times. And so I have to go back to our candidates and say, have patience. It's going to come. They know you're in the hopper. They're still interested in you. But the badgering is not helpful right now.
Right. That's great. I think that's super good advice in terms of setting up expectations,
Mm-hmm.
because we are in a different time and people do need to have some patience in terms of what's happening, because we don't really know, do we?
No, we don't. And Joanna, when the downturn of Wall Street happened back in
Right.
2008, I can tell you I was doing every job on property. I was the bellman. I was the guy on the carting people. I was the one going and sorting laundry down in the laundry. So when I think about what all of the people who are fortunate enough to have jobs right now are thinking, I get when people are saying that they're in a tough spot. The other thing that, I wanted to mention is that we're also seeing a number of people who want to move, but they're afraid to move because they're like, I have a job right now, and I know if I go to a place, but I'm uncertain about going, that last in, first out. So God forbid there's a second or a third wave, they don't really know me, and if I get hired, I'm in a secure role now. Am I going to be the first to be cut? And so we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that. I can tell you that we had, and this is as tough recruiting job is that we had people who were who were placed at roles. So we had placed them in March or February. They got the job, they signed the contract, they gave notice at their current job, and then COVID happened, and the hotels that they were going to said, oh, we're laying people off. We still want them, but you have to hold them in queue. So if you can imagine, we had 5 people that were out there who had left their job for new jobs that now they don't have yet. But I'm really happy to report that all 5 of those were placed at the places that they were originally given job offers. One of them as late as just last week. So we had a woman that was a spa director who started the 2nd day of June. So what I can say is we come from an industry of good people, and we're good to each other. And so don't make the move. If you're not comfortable making a move because of you're fearful, you should never do that. But if it's your dream job, make the move. What I've seen is that hotels and spas have had the integrity that you and I and all of the people in our industry have every single day. And so I say, if it were me, I'd take the risk.
Right. Well, I think that that's also good, healthy life advice as well, right? Right. We have to step into our bigness. It doesn't serve us well to stay small.
Exactly. And as I've said since the beginning, we have to look for the silver linings, and we can't live in fear.
Right. It's true. It's true.
We can be smart about how we live, but if it's keeping you stuck, it's not gonna suit you personally or your career.
Right. Well, what you resist persists.
Exactly.
All right, let's segue into some questions. Does anyone in our audience have questions for Michael or for us about how the job site works or how you might use it? And I think one thing we did forget to sort of talk about was that companies can also post jobs on the job site as well. So.
Yes, and they don't necessarily, the good thing is that they don't necessarily have to be hospitality related. They can be wellness, they could be senior living, they could be green companies who are selling green products, because that's what Green Spa Network is about. So, we're looking to really just expand and be able to offer this to everybody who's out there, because the more that we can do for each other, the more it supports our greater cause.
Yes, this is true. All right, questions, anyone? I don't see any. All right. I think that would, do you have anything else that you want to share, Michael?
I just want to share that, I have had epiphanies over the last 6 months. And, I'm like everybody else in spa and wellness and hospitality and taking care of people. And, I've thought about, is this my time to exit and find something else? Am I really happy in this industry? And what I've seen from every single organization is the commitment to professionalism, the family feel, the staying connected while we're down. And it's made me realize that I want to be in this industry for as long as I possibly can. And that I'm hoping that for the next 20 years that I'm still here, because we have a really great thing in spa and hospitality and wellness and Green Spa Network, and we want to continue it.
Yes. We do have one question, which really is asking about when you think the job market's going to open back up.
I think I said it earlier. I think we're probably looking at fall. A lot of the West Coast now is just starting to open in the next 2 weeks. And then there are other places that, are slower, but it looks like places are starting to open up in full, they may only be able to take a third of their guests or whatever, but they're reopening. So I'm guessing we're going to start seeing a real influx in October, and probably around high season with the holidays. As we all know, everybody needs help every Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, no matter when it is. And so I do think that we're going to see a very strong late fall, early winter.
Okay, good. And what do you think about the travel industry in general over the winter? right? Do you think people are really going to hedge their bets and it will all be last minute bookings because we don't know what's going to happen? Or do you think that people are so struggling with being cooped up that they're going to plan ahead anyway?
I can tell you, so I have traveled a couple of times. It was frightening the first time. And now, I'm sort of used to it. Also, the experience was a little bit different the first time, because it was so few people, and I wanted to, when you go to a resort experience, you kind of want to be around other people. But now it's different, and like I have friends that I have traveled with that John and I love to travel with, and we just had dinner this week, and they're like, let's start making a list. Let's do something before Christmas. Let's do something in spring. Let's plan our next 4 trips together over the next year. And the cool thing about it is that they're not necessarily looking for flight destinations yet. People are still on the I want to go to where I can drive. And so the drive to strategy and the drive to market and that vacation experience, I think, will remain with us very strong until the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that was really great, Michael. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Really a pleasure to chat with you as always.
Thanks for having me, Joanna. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, our attendees, for coming. Appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you all very soon. Michael and I are going to continue this. We're going to try to do this once a month so that we can support people as they look for work and give them ideas and sort of really just, I think, Michael, give them real-time feedback about what's going on in the marketplace, because I think that that's really important for folks.
I appreciate that, Joanna, and I appreciate your audience. And as I always tell you, you're the easiest person to speak to.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan.